Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Hey, Yolanda. Good morning to you. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Your absence has been felt.
Oh, thank you. That's so heartfelt. Thank you.
Good morning, Dr.
Good to
Constance,
see you.
and
Likewise.
welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Charles. I hope you guys were okay in my absence.
We did what we could,
Yes.
but then, of course, it's your show. Welcome back once again.
It's our show. Thank you so much. All right, to look at the papers with us today, we have Dr. Ibrahim Modibo. He is a media executive and a political commentator. Hello then, welcome to the program. We'll begin with This Day. In This Day this morning, we have Southeast Caucus will quit PDP if Udeh-Okoye is not returned National Secretary. But Southeast must stand together. Wabara, we've been trampled upon too many times. Udenwa, we don't want to be taken for granted any longer. In a meeting, the Southeast Zone already nominated Sunday Udeh-Okoye to complete the term of office of the National Secretary and says the region will not be disrespected. If not, it will reconsider membership of the party. I mean, major players in the Southeast are speaking up at this time. The zone is indeed a stronghold of the PDP. We know that. They can't risk losing that region, I guess. And the court already ruled that the PDP matter is an internal affair, so the party has to decide. So the region is standing on its ground. Dr. Modibo, your thoughts on this story?
Thank you very much, Dr. Constance, and welcome back. Good to see you. Good morning, Yolanda. Good morning, Charles. Looking at the issue of opposition in this country, we have to broaden the spectrum of the opposition by way of opening the corridors of discussions so that people under a democratic atmosphere such as this should be able to sit down as mature people, as Democrats, to iron out issues without let or hindrance. You see, the problem of PDP is a problem of ownership, of which I think somebody somewhere, let me be very specific, the FCT minister seems to be like the landlord of PDP, and he holds it tight under a firm grip. And therefore, that is the major issue of contention. Whether we like it or not, there's a need for opposition in this country. We cannot have a one-party state. Honestly, there's no democracy that is worth its salt if a country is governed or guided by a one-party state. That means it's authoritarianism, and dictatorial tendencies will naturally set in. Now, for the purpose of this discussion, the Southeast Caucus seems to have made up its mind that they want Udeh-Okoye. Therefore, let it be. This is democracy. You cannot just think of, taking a firm grip of a political party that is funded by almost entire people in the party structure for selfish aggrandizement. For long, this country has been buckled under the full weight of greedy political class whose main interest is just sharing or selfless or selfish interest. And I strongly believe the Southeast is a very committed PDP zone, and therefore it will do everything within the ambits of its politics to see that it maintains its own stance on an issue of great importance. They don't want anybody, not even Wike, to determine what happens in the Southeast, and therefore they are up to the task. And I think the best thing to do is for the PDP to look inwards, try to cross the T's and dot the I's with a view to bringing sanity to the party. Otherwise, if this committee under His Excellency Bukola Saraki does not in any way come to terms with what the party wants to do towards 2027, I think it's a very hopeless situation that we can only pray.
Okay, let's see New Telegraph. There we have mass failure in UMTE, 379 and 997 candidates to retake exams. Tech glitches occurred in 157 centers in 6 states, mainly the Southeast and Lagos. JAMB admits errors in results, offers apology. I don't know if you saw, that video or that press conference where Professor Ishaq Oluyode was crying, and the states mainly affected, in one zone, Anambra, Imo, Abia, Enugu, Ebonyi, and Lagos State. And a lot of parents are furious as to what happened. And Professor Oluyode has already apologized. Dr. Modibo, what do you think about what just occurred with JAMB?
You see, Professor Oluyode is a man of conscience. I see him as a complete gentleman, an academic, and also a Nigerian that has the feeling of the young ones at heart. For an old man like this to cry, I saw him on television yesterday, I was also really moved to tears. Because for somebody to admit failure, to cry, to show compassion, to show that he's sorry for what might have happened. But, under the current global dynamics, Dr. Constance, you'll agree with me that technology is not something that you can completely rely on. We cannot blame them. It's possible there is a glitch based on technological functions of which Professor Oluyode cannot be held responsible. The threshold of examination is to see that people are tested based on the questions and the answers they give. And therefore, if somebody is prepared and he has been able to come on board as a student to prepare for exams, because most Nigerian students, you see, for you to go to a university, of which a fundamental human right of any Nigerian who is qualified, you must go through the JAMB exams. And JAMB exams is a floodgate or a gateway to academic excellence. And therefore, for the JAMB registrar, Professor Oluyode, of which I've never met, I've never seen him, but I think from his actions, words, and deeds, he has been a man of honesty, a man of integrity, and also one that has conscience, as I've said. So, for him, I think it was, he felt very sorry, and that under global platforms such as this, whoever makes a mistake will feel sorry and also will be able to tender an apology. And I think he is in a good stead.
All right. I mean, JAMB is already trying to remedy that problem or glitch. But we also understand that one of the reasons why parents and students are apprehensive is that we have different cuts of marks for different regions in this country, especially from the Southeast. Students from that part of the country are expected to have very high marks in order to gain admission, where in some other zones it's very low marks. So that's why this JAMB issue is really important for them, and why people are saying there shouldn't be this kind of mistakes made in this country, this level of incompetency or glitch or whatever it is called. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. And I think it also highlights the issue of why do we have uneven cut-off marks, uneven requirements for people from different parts of the country. Isn't it time the country stops all this kind of injustice? A lot of people see it as injustice, but the conversation will continue outside of this.
Dr. Constance,
yes, we have to move on to okay, another story, but very briefly, please come in very briefly.
Yes. What I'm saying, you see, this cut-off marks arise because of some circumstances beyond the control of maybe the zones and also the educational background. You'll agree with me that the South has had education much more earlier, Western education, than the North. And also, if you look at the issue of this Boko Haram, have driven almost all the schools, bombed everything, and people are now, they are being taught under trees, without computers, without anything. And therefore, for you to set a JAMB exam based on computer analysis, you see, these children might be you cannot just have a country where only one section of the country goes to university or have education for better life, and then you allow the other. So I think, in fairness, the cut-off marks sometimes, especially for girls, it is something that I think it's very, very important. We should encourage them, especially in the North. I thank you.
Dr. Modibo, for almost 60 years, we are still talking about educational disadvantaged states. I mean, this is not about computer glitches now. We're still talking about educational disadvantaged states for at least 60 years of our country. Anyway, let's move on to Daily Sun newspaper. 30% of Lagos civil servants sponsored abroad for training absconded, according to the government. The Lagos Commissioner for Establishment and Training, Afolabi Ayantayo, declared that between May 2022 and December 2024, 23,420 civil servants benefited from various training locally and abroad to improve competencies. I mean, it's a good initiative, but Charles, if you want to come in here, the commissioner doesn't say here what is being done to stop their abscondment and if there are any punishments at all. I guess this is supposed to be a crime, isn't it? I don't know.
Well, they're simply taking advantage of that situation to jump onto the Japa bandwagon. You know, for many Nigerians, the moment you get on that plane and cross the Atlantic Ocean, or is it the Mediterranean Sea, and land in any of these developed countries, then it's an opportunity to hightail it. So I am not entirely surprised. As a matter of fact, I would have been surprised if the reverse were the case, that those civil servants being sponsored abroad would actually complete their studies and then return. So, you know, it's the vogue, it's the fever. That's the state we've found our country in. Young people or people of all ages taking advantage of every opportunity to travel abroad, to travel and not come back. Now, I mean, of course, you did raise the point that is there anything that is being done to discourage the state of affairs? Well, at the moment, very little can be done except if we have a complete overhaul of our country's economic and educational systems so that it won't be necessary to send them abroad. Whatever it is they need will be found here, or the incentive to travel abroad and not come back would now be removed so that, you know, when they go for studies, they know that they have the responsibility of coming back to contribute their quota to the country's development. All that is not available, so definitely not surprised. All
right, let's move on to The Guardian. FG upbeat about reforms amid criticism over proposed London press conference. The planned international press conference by key ministers is being labeled extravagant and insensitive public relations jamboree. The purpose of the conference is to showcase achievements of the government. Ministers who attend include ministers of work, Minister of Interior, FCT Minister, heads of agencies, etc. Yolanda, does the government need this London press conference? Are they tone deaf and irresponsible as is being viewed by a cross-section of Nigerians?
It's really hard to say, but I can say this. When it comes to the public perception of this press conference abroad, probably part of the motivating factors for having this is to, you know, improve the international outlook on Nigeria and, as you said, showcase what has been done. But on home ground, this is not being taken well. It could backfire because we have so many domestic issues that are unaddressed. You're going abroad to speak to people when you're not even speaking to your own people here on home soil.
Right.
Actually, I mean, I seem to share the same sentiment here. Why hold that conference in London? What's the logic behind it? Okay, fine. Even here in Nigeria, I mean, you can actually arrange to have it broadcast to the whole world. Or is it making the point to Nigerians in diaspora, specifically those living in London? What is the target audience? And I mean, are we blowing our trumpet to the world, whereas other Nigerians back home are not feeling the impact of those policies you want to trumpet? Well, I hope that there'll be time for Q&A, questions and answers, because I'm very sure fellow Nigerians abroad in that London too would also have very tough questions to ask.
All right, I don't think the government is going to start. I think they're going to go ahead with that planned press conference. It's not the first time it's been done in the past. But let's see Vanguard newspaper. Insecurity, bandits feed over our babies, or feed our babies to their dogs, according to Zamfara lawmaker. I think this is actually very triggering. But it says bandits have established themselves as de facto authorities over local residents. We know that already. It's been happening for a while. And then worrisome insecurity is spillover from Sudan Niger, according to British envoy. Military were more determined than ever to go after terrorists, according to the Chief of Defense Staff. Dr. Modibo, please come in here. You're from the north. Do you have any comment concerning these statements from different officials in regard to the insecurity matter?
Yes, before I go to insecurity, Dr. Constance, kindly permit me 1 minute to talk on this jamboree. To me, going under globalization and multiculturalism such as ours, we are under a global community. The Arise television and others are all over the world. People beam them. So why do you need to go to America or London to go and do a press conference? I think it's just a jamboree, just for self-service. Nothing more, nothing less. To me, the criticism is quite apt because I don't think we're talking much to the Nigerians who matter, whose electoral value is determined by the productivity of the government. They are not talking to Nigerians. Since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on board, he only had one press conference. And I think he should be talking more to Nigerians, engaging them. This is, by the way. Now going to insecurity, Dr. Constance. To me, the insecurity problem in this country seems to be overwhelming. You see, let us be circumspect from where we're coming from and also where we're likely to go to. If you look at Nigeria at the moment, insecurity has been able to overwhelm almost every, it has, in fact, occupied not only the media space, but also the global space in terms of sad narratives, in terms of consequences of the modus operandi of these bandits. If it were to be in a sane society, by now, the National Security Advisor, Malam Nouri Bado, and most of the service chiefs should have resigned. They should have gone. Because they have shown they are clueless, helpless, hopeless, and from a large extent, incompetent. And therefore, if you can't handle Boko Haram, of which is part and parcel of the societal demands, the demands and dynamics of operational democracy is that people must be safe under a government. You should provide security, provide food, provide the necessities of life, of which security is one. It's unfortunate. It's a sad commentary in the history of this country that we have a government that seems to have lost the logic and bearing. So we have to break the barriers to define the narrative, Dr. Constance. And therefore, to me, I think it's a sad commentary that today insecurity is overwhelming.
All right. I think I'm more interested in the bit where the British envoy talked about the influence of Sudan. Sudan is a war that's been ongoing. It rarely makes the headlines. It seems like it's almost a forgotten war. Before it was Libya, but we do know that there is that influence and impact on other African countries. Okay, let's quickly go to the international headlines. We have here Daily Graphic. Illegal miners block Birim River in Ghana, lives and communities in danger. If we look at that photo, there's the devastation, the pollution of the river caused by this activity. And Ghana faces this severe problem. Nigeria also faces it. On to Citizen newspaper. No plans for wealth tax. Ahead of delivering his third attempt at the national budget, South African Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says he doesn't think wealth tax is a good way to plug the budget loophole, arguing that the rich already paid their dues. For example, there's property tax that is included in estate tax, donation tax levied for any asset donations, all equity transfers taxed through a security transfer tax, and real estate transfers through transfer duty. I mean, it sounds comprehensive, so he'll have to find the money somewhere else. On to iNewspaper. UK food and drink prices set to rise in blow to Starmer's cost of living plan. Cost of butter, chocolate, coffee, lamb and potatoes soar, and prices forecast to rise further. Labour MPs tell the iPaper that more emphasis is needed on tackling cost of living. Yolanda, what a rough time for Labour Party. When we read several reports that a lot of people are falling into poverty in the UK, and so, I mean, this shows it.
Absolutely, and I think that there are several angles to this story. First of all, the price of food going up is one of the complexities that you would face when you're trying to manage the cost of living and inflation. So this was bound to happen with all that has been going on in the UK. Unfortunately, this as well has political implications for Starmer, and people may not end up supporting. And I think this is not the first quote-unquote negative headline that has been coming out of the Labour Party. The third part I would like to mention concerning this cost of food hikes and drinks is that consumers are really going to now start to handle their finances differently. When food is going up, you have to, buy what you need, no more extras, just stick to what is needed in the home, because everything else now, the prices are not looking good. Same thing with the NHS, there's so much, the NHS has been on its knees. We've spoken about it so many times, and I've used that exact statement, but the UK, and especially for the Labour Party, it's not looking good.
All right, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that story, an unfolding story.
Mm.
The Times newspaper, early release for sexual offenders as jails on brink. Domestic abuses and sexual offenders recalled to prison after breaching the license conditions will be allowed out again after 28 days to free up space. Male prisons are due to run out of space in November, and the Justice Secretary says they have no choice. I mean, Victims Watchdog says the public will be at risk. Charles, if you want to jump in very quickly before we call it a wrap.
Well, I don't understand why the back scale for punishment for sexual offenders. Maybe, just maybe, somebody made a case, but I'm sure that case that was made for that sort of thing is absolutely no case at all. But then, really, how do the laws in that country work? Big question for me here.
Yeah, well, they have to free up space in the prisons. Anyway, that's all we can take for the newspaper review this morning. Dr. Ibrahim Modibo, a political commentator and media executive, thank you so much for coming this morning.
Thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for heading today's review as well. Welcome back once again. That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. Goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Bye-bye.